My name is Craig Little. I'm sales engineer for the Pacific Northwest for SUSE.
My name is Rodolfo Jarano. I am also a sales engineer. I'm based in Houston, Texas. And I have two disclaimers. Please excuse me because I'm kind of ill. The hot weather from Texas coming up here has just killed me. The second one is I actually gave the flu to my demo when I tried to get too creative today and doing two. So the purpose was to show both an LDAP connection to Active Directory and eDirectory. There is a way to do them both, and I will show you how to do it, but I just won't be able to demo it. Unfortunately, it crashed and burned.
So the demo gods are not smiling on us today.
No, but I was up until 3 in the morning, got it to work, and this morning we started like, let's do both. And it wasn't a good idea.
This little puff of smoke emanated from his laptop. Yes.
I do. And we can get your emails, and the notes I have are not in the presentation itself, but I can send them over.
Right. So we're here talking about integrating OpenStack with an identity management backend of that generically LDAP. So we've got some pieces we're going to talk about through that whole thing. OpenStack, let's start there.
The first question we had for you guys is who is currently using OpenStack or heard of OpenStack or...
Okay, so the heard of question, you all should be able to answer your hands if you've been here for any of the keynotes this week. Yeah, but are you guys using it currently? Excellent.
Okay, are you building, let me stop you there. Are you building the open source project or a particular vendor? I won't put you on the spot.
I applaud you for the effort, but it's an effort.
So actually, let me talk about that. I tried for 6 weeks. I couldn't get it to go because of the whole complexity. And we'll show a diagram of how many different components OpenStack has.
Right.
I tried the upstream version. I gave up. I was able to do hours in about an hour the first time. I don't know if any of you have gone to actually the OpenStack Summit at any point.
Yeah, that's quite I wasn't straightforward. There's complexity.
That is correct. So we actually use the word in our marketing, pain-free cloud, OpenStack Cloud. I don't think it's pain-free. It's a little less pain.
Yeah,
that's what I would call it.
Less painful.
So yeah, going back to the OpenStack Summit, they did for 3 years in a row a competition of who could build X amount of things.
Rule the stack.
Rule over the stack. And they had to end the competition because our engineers were taking first and second prizes each of the last 4 years.
Competition.
So the last time they did it, they had time bonuses for extra things you would add to your cloud. Dirk, one of our engineers who's actually walking around the floor all day.
Wasn't it negative 15 minutes?
He came in at -9 minutes.
Okay, -9. Because he nailed so many time bonuses, it took away all the time it took him to implement.
His real time was, I think, 8 minutes, but with 20-minute time bonuses, he went down to -9 minutes. So that just gives you an idea of where we focused our engineering resources.
Now, Dirk is superhuman in his understanding of OpenStack.
He is. The previous year, so they gave them, there was one year that they gave him 10 servers, and they said, just build an OpenStack server. So of course he built it on one server and not the 10.
Right.
And they weren't clear about the rules. The second year, he made a mistake and was copying everything through the Wi-Fi. He said if he had the actual image on a disk drive that he could just plug into the machine, he would have cut like 20 minutes.
And he still won. And there were still people competing that didn't complete the challenges.
So we deviated enough from OpenStack. Yeah, so what we're here for is
the last one. Just one last interesting piece. Dirk, knowing it so well, had it all really scripted and was just slamming it in. The guy that came in number 2 did it like what you guys would do it. Correct. And followed through the actual implementation steps that you would go through with our distro. And he came in second.
Correct.
To Dirk, who
And
cheats.
he did it in,
No.
in plus 15 minutes.
Right. So still very, very significant. So you came in after we asked the question, are you running OpenStack? Are you intending to? Okay. Sounds good. But you've at least heard of it. Okay, because I was harassing these guys that. Excellent. That sounds good.
That's everybody's issue right now.
So one of the things, there's actually a guy in Japan that's taking old hardware, loading them into OpenStack clusters, and providing compute services for people that have lost with the nuclear disaster and hurricanes and other things, providing compute for those folks. Nice. So quick question then, before we move on. What industry are you guys in? Because we got another guy up here in school district. You're in school district or no? So independent? Okay, nice. So you in the far, what? Higher ed as well? So university, community college sort of thing? Okay. University as well? Very nice. So we got an entirely education crowd here. This is fun.
Cool.
This is very cool. So
to our topic of the day.
Yes.
How do we enforce security on OpenStack? And this is quite simple, really. The component that we're going to talk about is by far the simplest component of OpenStack, and that is called Keystone.
So Keystone really is the authentication mechanism for OpenStack, and it has a configuration where normally it goes after a database to store all the credential pieces, but you can configure it to go after an LDAP source. And so we're going to talk through how those pieces come together and what we're going to do with those pieces, but let's provide a little context first.
Now we'll show you a lot of pieces.
Yeah. So this is the version 6 of our OpenStack environment of the ecosystem around OpenStack. Notice there, kind of dead center, we've got Keystone, which is the part that we're going to talk about today.
Every single component in OpenStack uses Keystone, and we'll show that in the following slide. But as you can see, all of these projects, the ones in green are currently fully supported and have crowbar mechanisms, which is what we use to deploy each and every one of these services. These are provided, we provide the packages, but there is no crowbar instance to it. And then the Tempest is on a tech preview at the moment. We already made the announcement of OpenStack 7. So a lot of these have changed, and a lot of
moving
those
to green.
Have turned green actually for SUSE OpenStack 7. I don't know if you had the chance to attend any of the roadmaps for Cloud 7.
Okay. Pretty exciting stuff. One of the things that you'll probably hear us talking about next year is how to integrate Barbican, which is...
And Barbican is basically a key store. So whatever Keystone is doing, it will connect to Barbican and save it in a key store type of format. So that's a project that we thought about adding to our presentation, but unfortunately on OpenStack Cloud 6 that was not available.
And it's tech preview in version 7.
That is correct. So we'll show you another diagram, which...
See, this is part of the reason we're going to have you guys move up closer, so you could actually read some of these pieces.
But yeah, basically it's the same components, just way more confusing. So here's the bare metal service, Horizon, heat engine for orchestration. Little Keystone is over there. As you can see, compared to the others, it's nothing, right?
But very critical.
Yeah, and in this particular one, you can see that every single component is touching in some way or form going up to Keystone. So they're all interconnected.
Yep.
Sure. What is what? Can you explain this to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good question. It's both. So there's a way to make a filter where you can say a specific group, and we'll show that in another slide ahead. You can just have a administrators group, and only they are allowed through the filter.
And you also are able to, inside Keystone, do the separation by projects. Yeah.
Correct. Correct. So let's zoom in the topic of the day. After having this mess, it's just basically that. As Craig said, there is the option by default, which is a Postgres SQL database. You can do, I won't get ahead of myself.
We're getting there, we're getting there. But you've got the database pieces, we've got the LDAP pieces, and that, like we said, is optional. But that's the part that we're really going to key in today, is how do you make that configuration come together and work.
Please stop us at any time. We're not in love with the voice, with the sound of our voice. So if you stop us, that'll make it
And we have
more
so many
interactive.
people, but let's just treat it as a great conversation today.
All right. So this is the basic configuration. When you, I don't know if I should, I'll actually show it right now, and we'll do it more interactive.
Yeah.
Super straightforward.
Isn't it? And it causes so much grief. There's parts of it. There's some aspects when you start digging into it, you got to kind of understand what's the URL for it. You know, there's some identity pieces and LDAP pieces you got to have a handle on. And if you don't have a handle on those, you're kind of at a deficit to begin with.
So as promised, you see that it has completely gotten sick. So basically, when you come in, I'll go back and I'll show you the dashboard when you come in. I don't know if anybody has seen this yet. It's gone all down. Wow. Anyway, so it's supposed to be all green and happy because of our adventurousness,
yes,
you would call it. We're here at this point. But basically, you can see here all the bar clamps that are required by Crowbar in this case. It's funny, the naming conventions that they use: crowbar, bar clamp. I don't know who comes up with these names, but so yeah, basically these are all the ones in green, and let's assume that Keystone is in green at this point. Hold on, I can do something about that.
Yeah, I'll just let me hold on to that, and I'll just keep it green all day.
So yeah, you can see all the components that we talked in the previous slide are active here in our cloud environment. So what you basically do is go here. If you haven't, if it's the first time that you want to set something up, it'll say create a proposal. If you've already done something to it, you'll see the edit button, and this is the moment where you need to look away because something horrible is about to happen. Okay, so this is the basic configuration for Keystone. Again, super simple. You just need to set up an admin and a crowbar passwords that are there by default. If you come over here to the raw, there are two ways. There are two ways of actually implementing the configuration. One is through the crowbar mechanism and the proposal here, or you could go, as we showed you before, in the keystone.com file and alter. It's the same, basically the same, and I got lost.
Same type of, or the same config file.
The same config file. Yes, so this one actually has the standard template because I was trying to back out of it. So you'll see here. Here is where you see the identity. So here, I'll give you this so you point to it.
Perfect.
Excuse me. So you see the identity there.
And the driver is SQL.
That's by, like I said, by default is the SQL. to your Postgres database that we set up earlier. When you want just an LDAP, you just set LDAP there, as well as the assignment. But there's a third thing that you can do, which is a hybrid. You can have both the mechanism to connect to the LDAP as well as the SQL. Correct.
Well, there's some other reasons for it.
There's more to that, and I'll let you.
Do you want to
put the slide?
Step back? Yeah, let's step back to the slides real quick. Maybe.
Oh no. Hold on.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
There.
One more. One does not simply put a bunch of service accounts in your AD or your enterprise directory service. So that's one concept of, but it's not, that's one of the concepts around why you would want to use a hybrid, is there are some of those users, you want to have those super users that have access to things and you don't want those over there. You might want to set up the LDAP side of things to be just read-only coming into Keystone or Keystone. Because in that mode, you may have IT users that just want to have read-only access into the OpenStack to be able to just see what's going on. Help desk, ops center types of accounts. The other side of it is you can limit those accounts that are able to come in via the LDAP for access to OpenStack. In that mode, you'd be using your directory the directory services to only allow that small subset, those that are a member of the DevOps group or something like that.
Is this, obviously it does so many things, but in this scenario, is it somewhat a replacement for something like Identity Manager?
No. No. We absolutely will hit that topic here in just a second. So, but the hybrid allows both modes. And we kind of talked through some of the reasons why you would want to use it in this mode. Because you don't necessarily want to keep track of the daily users' passwords. You want them managing that elsewhere. You want to manage who's in the network of that group potentially elsewhere, where you would want to potentially incorporate an identity manager piece of that solution.
Going back, can you go back one actually, because I forgot to mention, this is where you would have your user and password, admin password, down, there. So that would be your basic admin for your LDAP and your password. If you chose
or the user that you use to allow access to your LDAP source.
However, there is a way to enable that to be anonymous. If you don't put anything there, it will attempt an anonymous. Given that that is enabled on your LDAP server.
So does it also bind or
yeah, so it does an initial bind, and then it pulls down based on your filter, because there is a command that you can do, which is
there's a sync.
Keystone users, I believe, that will show you both your SQL users as well as your users from. So it does a pool of the validated users based on the filter, which is not here. It is not. It is not. But that would be interesting. Correct. Correct. But that's a good point. I don't see why it wouldn't be cached, or if you tweak something to have that cached, since it's pulling it down anyway. But yeah, at this point, it's not.
Okay, so we talked. Can be
Tricky.
Which leads to some of my other comments here. See, this is a good crowd. So from an identity point of view, because I wanted to make sure and kind of touch on some of these pieces, because anytime you are taking an IT-centric utility like an OpenStack and attaching it into an enterprise directory, there are things that you got to kind of pay attention to. And one of them is the using an enterprise identity sources where possible. It does make sense to do that, because then you're pushing the identity creation, removal, management, lifecycle management of that identity off to somebody else. I don't have to do it inside of my OpenStack environment, as well as where it's happening elsewhere. If you have access to those pieces, let them take care of those daily functions. Also, you have the validation that those are real users, that they should be in this group. You've got governance around those identities when you're using the enterprise identity source. Talk with your identity management team if you're going to look at incorporating these pieces into any of your IT-specific projects. Yeah. Correct. Yep. Because that's one of my other recommendations is to not use anonymous. Not a big fan when it comes from a security point of view on LDAP. And depending upon what your infrastructure looks like, LDAP-S versus LDAP over 389 and TLS. You got a couple of choices there. LDAP-S is frankly depreciated in a lot of instances. Right. But it depends upon what port, things of that nature. Does it try to start the encryption or not versus 636 where it's always encrypted. But use username and password, use those methods to access your LDAP source. Right. Don't leave it wide open with anonymous. Talk with the identity management team. If you have identity manager or something along those things, spin up a purpose-built identity source for your IT projects. To where when you have identity manager, it synchronizes those things on a very quick basis. It's very easy to spin up just a straight up LDAP source to be utilized by IT. And you can, at that point, filter out a subset of your users, your enterprise users. So something to kind of keep in mind. It also integrates, it gets it integrated into the overall identity and security stance. Again, let that governance happen at a higher level and outside of what you're trying to do with OpenStack. And then adding specific identity elements to control access. Things like we're using a DevOps group in our example today. But add groups, add identity attributes to be able to filter on inside of the IT projects that you're going to try and consume LDAP for. Specifically in this case, OpenStack. Careful using multiple sources. It'll potentially blow things up.
It should work, but I'm not sure what it could. So you basically have the same type of configuration, but you just give it different domain names in the configuration files, and it's supposed to go and figure out who has more weight. Exactly.
That's my point right there. First one found wins, because it typically is in a sequential order. There have been times when I've done this type of integration with other products and you're going, how the hell did I find that one first? You know, how it chooses the order that it goes down and searches, but it is always, as it rolls through the various sources, the first one that it finds that matches that login, it grabs it and will never go down to the ones below it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But as far as the LDAP sources, was it the order that I put them in? Was it alphabetical? Was it this or that? But yeah, as it searches, it's using that GID in the sort. But the first one found wins. The second or third or fourth identity with the same login will never come into play. So you have to be careful on that part of it. But if you're pretty certain that you don't have identities that cross those sources, you're solid. So those are some of the best practices aspects to pay attention to. There we go. In conclusion.
Yeah, so in conclusion, Keystone provides authentication identity services for all of the components in OpenStack. You can have the default SQL as well as just LDAP or a hybrid.
That's about it. Let's go dig. Let's go dig into here's the reference material that's in the present, or that we use to help build some of this presentation. That's in the slide deck. That's available to you already. But like I said, we'll go through and grab some email addresses and take care of getting you
I'm actually going to give you my cards and you can write me and I'll send you everything.
There you go. There we go. Let's Let's dig in
I'll
deeper
go
on the
back to
configs now.
Yeah. Let me go there. Okay. So we didn't show you anything past this, but there will be, you talked about the certificates and doing LDAP-S. This is where you would get your certs from your LDAP and save them in there. Yes, correct, correct.
Is that where you would drop your LDAP certificate?
Well,
yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes, it's like we said at the beginning, this is the simplest
of the modules.
component of.
Let's go ahead and pull up the eDirectory, or the example.
Oh, what I was gonna show is that by default, this thing will be all here. So it'll show you every single option that you have will be there. So it's up to you to fill it out with whatever you need. It needs to match classes, attributes, and whatnot. Just yes, yes. So let me
Be
move
careful
to,
with what you remove.
Yeah. Let me move to that one, and I hope you can see this. I'll make it bigger.
Yeah, let's
So this
pump
is
pump the size of the text up.
yeah, it'd be cool, like, just whenever you have it, I'd love to see what you do.
Yeah, I have it here.
Yeah, you're off the edge.
Oh, no, that's not it. Can I make things bigger here?
Moving it over, I think will.
No. Oops. Hold on. Oh.
We pushed the magic manual.
Yes.
Fair enough. But yeah, it's pretty small text. I don't know if you can, in this text editor, it moved back. Did it?
There we go. Yeah, we're good now. Try Control Plus.
No, I just tried it.
Okay.
No. Hold on.
Oh, that was magnifying glass.
Yeah. That's for searching. I just.
Oh, that's for searching. Okay.
Yeah. Search for
Yeah.
text and search for something else.
Okay.
Well, this is not good.
We can see it. Let's go ahead and.
Okay.
Let's start with the schema. We're going to start with the AD.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So, yeah, this was basically the schema that we used. And this is something that we applied roles to tell it which users to allow and which ones to deny. So yeah, that's just the basic schema. And as you can see, okay, we'll give you either first. As you can see here, there's a role filter, and you just tell it member of X role, and it would only allow in the members of that role.
So this allow user create, update, and delete. Currently, these are set for false. This is one of those things where you want to pay attention to how you have your users filtered. If you're letting in all of IT, you may want to leave those as, read only. But you've got some choices there, and you can potentially have it set to, I can allow you to create an update, but you ain't deleting anything.
That's actually this interface.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
There's no need for you to be touching this. So that's actually the components. Keystone's recommendation is for you to have those three things and turn to false. Right, but I agree with you.
So going through the list, URL, it's where am I going to find the LDAP source?
I went crazy and did another port, so that's why I have 1026 there.
Right.
Instead of the
389.
the default ones, which are 389 and 636.
But notice this is in a URL format. So it's LDAP://. And
correct.
In our case, demo box, we use the IP. From a production point of view, you'd really want to use DNS. So that way, if something else changes, you don't have to worry about your config files blowing up. Then the user. This would be the user again.
Yeah,
Demo box, we just used admin. Would really recommend using a service account that you can go in and access.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. And notice this is in an LDAP format for the username. So you have to remember that piece of it. And then the user tree. Where am I going to start pulling my users from? So you want to put it at a certain level of the tree and let it search down. You don't want to have it search the whole tree. And you were mentioning speed issues. Yeah. That's one of the key pieces to help speed up.
For it to go straight to the source.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is one of those where it's very cool. It saves you a lot of that lifecycle management of the identities if I can push it out and let the standard governance processes of identity take care of that. Right. Right. And that's truly the benefit of doing this type of integration. Is those pieces. Because you're right, the pool of people who are going to be needing to access OpenStack, 30, 40 in a large organization, and half of those really are from a read-only point of view. If you are going down the road of a self-service concept with OpenStack, that number's, right, from a DevOps point of view, that number can grow when you start adding in the app developer community. Again, you look at an organization like a Starbucks. Their app development community far outnumbers the IT ops side, who would be really owning this type of solution. But they are going to want to let in all of their developers to be able to go build out their dev environments and their test environments and their production environments from a self-serve point of view. Right. Right. And so this is one of those things where this is one available option to help minimize your workload in the right situations. And then we scroll down the ID attribute CN, name attribute, we go through and say what those are, and then the false piece, the role tree, where are my roles found? The organizational role is object class. Member attribute is role occupant. So we use the role as that filter mechanism to determine who should be allowed in and not. Depending upon how your directory is set up, user directory, you may use something like group, or you may use a straight up separate attribute.
So I'm assuming at this point that you're not looking at federation capabilities.
No.
No.
No. This is straight up LDAP.
That would be nice, though.
You want your
my
going
computer
to sleep? Let's roll over. Any questions? Any other questions on the eDirectory side? Let's flip over.
There's these two things that I wanted to talk about, which are the default, as you saw on the on Crowbar when I was showing you Crowbar, is the SQL. If you want to do the LDAP, you need to change it to that LDAP identity. If you want to do the hybrid, you use that entry. And here are the two files. So if you just have the one LDAP as we originally had it, you just can change that file, or in the raw file that I just showed you.
You can put those pieces
Crowbar.
in there.
So it'll go to the same place.
The config file names? Yes.
Correct. And then that's for a single LDAP server. If you have multiple, you just create domains. Same configuration for each domain, or not same configuration. What I meant to say was
same set of files.
Same set of files for both domains, with each one having their own particular. Correct. Correct. And finally, you already seen it, but here it is again, a little bit different than the eDirectory tree structure.
And again, being a demo environment, we were a little lazy using IP address instead of DNS, but it still is the LDAP.
And in this case, the 389 is not needed because it's the default, but I just put it there because I had the other one too.
So then,
no, they were not on the same server. When I installed it, I just changed it.
yeah, just because he could.
Just to make it interesting. To see if anybody caught it that I was not using the default one.
Exactly. So notice the structure changes for an AD versus eDirectory, but you got to put it in LDAP notation is the big key. The suffix, inet.org person, some of this changed just a little bit. It's not CN. Or no, the inet.org person is the same. We are using CN. And then the projects is on that tenant tree. Mm-hmm. So you can carve it up by project and the object class.
So this role, these are just main definitions. They're not related to the role stuff.
No.
Nope.
Like role-based services or anything, no.
It's just an object name.
It's basically a membership to a group. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
That's exactly it. Making sense? And we wish we could actually show it in operation and show it working through the pieces, but
I killed it.
We haven't found flu shots for our laptops yet. You could, yeah, exactly. So we're hoping we're providing value, even though we're at a point where we're not able to show it working.
I'm just thinking if there's anything else that I was missing.
This is all we're talking about right now.
Correct.
Yes.
So, but we've got some time. If you've got other questions.
Yeah. So it is. You can have it. You can have every single component in OpenStack, including Keystone. You can do it on a highly available manner. So you can add it to a pacemaker, which is actually the name of the project,
services.
To have it clustered, correct. And I think that's all we had for now. Unfortunately, once again, my apologies.
The part that we're really talking about was the authentication pieces. The authorization pieces comes from inside of the OpenStack.
So essentially, this provides authentication, and the authentication piece is essentially defined based on the
Right.
Yes. Yeah, based on the role, you just have.
You don't have a way.
So based on the project, actually.
Project is.
Yeah, the project. I could show you that.
Actually, I'm just trying to make inference. What about if some or which you can do sign authorization, you have to do it within multiple areas.
It is more centralized than the multiple areas, but you're carving it up from that project. The hierarchy really is you got project components. Right. So that project then has access to the various pieces of resources.
This is my cloud.